You're doing better. You can feel that you're doing better. You've done the work, moved through the worst of it. You're not crying on the bathroom floor anymore, and yet, there's still this feeling you can't name exactly. Not loneliness, not really, more like incomplete. Like there's a shape in the room that's supposed to be filled and isn't. What if that feeling is the last thing you need to heal? Not by finding someone to fill it, by understanding where it came from. At some point, most of us absorbed a story. Not explicitly. Nobody sat us down and said it. But it came through in movies, in the way adults talked about love, in the architecture of every romantic narrative we were handed. The story was, you are not enough on your own. There is someone out there who will complete you, who will make the incomplete feeling stop, who will make the room feel full. And the problem isn't that love isn't real, or that connection inessential. It is both. The problem is what that story quietly taught us about ourselves in its absence. That we are a half, that aloneness is evidence of incompleteness, that the hollow feeling is accurate information about who you are without another person. And then we found people who confirmed that story, who made the hollow feeling stop, temporarily, and we called that love, even when it was something else, especially when it was something else. Esther Perel describes this as the burden we've placed on romantic love, to be, simultaneously, security and adventure, certainty and mystery. To be, in short, everything, and we placed it there because we hadn't been taught that we could hold some of it. In 1985, psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan published research. They called it self-determination theory. Human beings have three core psychological needs: autonomy, competence, relatedness. Relatedness, the need for connection, is real. It's not something you transcend by becoming enlightened. But here's what research consistently showed. Relatedness without autonomy doesn't produce well-being. When we merge our sense of self with another, when our mood tracks their mood ... that's not love operating correctly. That's autonomy that was never developed, or was lost somewhere along the way. Bowlby, who developed attachment theory, introduced a concept ... he called it the internal secure base. The idea that a securely attached person doesn't just use other people as their safe harbor. They develop an internal place to return to, a self they can rely on when external support is absent. Not because they don't need people, because they don't only need people. Most of us who grew up in relational environments that were unpredictable, we never developed that internal compass. We outsourced the navigation. And then we called the person we outsourced it to everything. That feeling of incompleteness ... It's evidence that you've been looking outward for something that has to be built inward. And that's not a comfortable truth, because building inward is slower ... than finding someone to fill the space. Aristotle wrote about eudaimonia, often translated as happiness, but more precisely, flourishing. He wasn't describing solitude, he was describing the quality of being fully inhabited, a whole person, wanting to share, and the difference, in who you attract, in what you tolerate, is everything. Let me describe what outsourcing your completeness looks like. You're in a good mood, and the first thing you want to do is tell them, because it doesn't fully count until they've received it. Their approval carries more weight than your own assessment. You can spend time alone, but it doesn't feel neutral. It feels like waiting, and then they leave, and the bottom falls out. Because it wasn't just them you lost, it was the compass. So, how do you build an internal secure base? Researcher Kristen Neff identified the power of self-compassion. Building inward starts with a practice so small, noticing your own experience before you ask anyone else to confirm it. When something good happens, pause before you reach for the phone. Let yourself feel it for 30 seconds. When you're alone, try not treating it as a waiting room. Practice being in the space you're in as if it's sufficient. It's about learning that you're not incomplete without love. That's freedom. That's when you find out what real love actually feels like. Not someone completing you, to complete people choosing each other. The room was never empty. You just hadn't turned the light on yet. If you want to understand the specific attachment patterns, that's the next video.